Hello everybody, this is Danny from Deep South Homestead. Wanda and I, you've heard us talk about, we were interested in getting some worms to start our own worm castings for the high tunnels. Well, we ordered some worms from Uncle Jim's Worm Farm. Come in a bag. I don't know how this is going to work out now.
Look at this. Now I ordered the worms and other stuff, and y'all,
the worms has got here way ahead of the bin thing that we ordered.
So we got worms and no house.
Yeah, we got worms and nowhere for them to live. So we took a plastic container and I went down to the swamp and I got some black swamp dirt out. It's just black as charcoal. I mean, use my hands. You see, it's the same stuff that was in our ponds. And when I went to digging in it, Lord, at the wigglers that was in it, the regular earthworms were in it everywhere. So I know it's good dirt. The only thing I'm concerned about is, you know, their eggs probably is going to be in this, because I found little tiny 1-inch worms in it everywhere by the hundreds down there. So I tried to get as many of them out as I could and tried to stick with just pure dirt. But you know what? They're still worms and they'll still make worm castings. So I'm going to look at, I don't know what's in this. I'm just going to kind of like,
I'm kind of anxious.
I'm kind of anxious to see. I can tell it's very dry. I can see that.
I can see them. Look.
Oh, they are there.
Let me get the camera. Hold on.
Looks like peat moss or something. I don't know what that is, but let's see if you can tell anything about them. They're coming out.
I can see worms when you put all them.
They sure are awful little.
Well, they're not supposed to be big. We got to feed them. Look.
I'm used to our.
Look at them where.
I'm used to our worms.
At least they're alive.
They're alive. Look at them.
Look at them moving.
Man, I'm used to our big old worms. Ours, man, that's a baby worm for what we have here.
Well, why would they ship big worms? We got to feed them.
I guess so.
Look at them going.
Look at them going. Let me see if I can get a few more.
Our new babies on the homestead.
These are our new babies.
Who would have thought?
Look at them crawling in the dirt.
Look at them.
I don't know how many is actually in this bag, but
Wasn't it supposed to be 250?
whatever we ordered.
I think we're supposed to be getting 250 babies. That's crazy.
I don't know how they count them, but
I don't know, but I ain't counting them. If they jip me, they jip me, because I ain't counting them.
look at all of them crawling in that.
You want to go fishing?
Not yet. We got to raise them first.
Them's good fishing worms.
Them little boy, they going after that dirt, boy. They headed to that dirt.
They like that dark dirt. They said, oh, this sawdust ain't getting it.
Yeah, this looks like some kind of, yeah, I'm just going to spread it out on here so they can,
Wow, look at that. Just a whole pile of them.
I still got a bunch more in here, it feels like. Look at them.
We're going to be learning about worms.
Yeah, Deep South has gone to the worms.
That's just it. All our new babies. All 250 of them.
Look at them, boy.
How would you know if one died? They'd probably eat it.
No, I don't know. I mean, really don't know. Boy,
It'd just go back to its... go back to compost, I guess.
I guess.
Look at them.
I think we probably
It's
got
fun to watch worms crawl, though.
I think we probably got our.
Wait, one was on the bag. It fell off.
I think we probably got 250 of them, maybe. Trying to make sure I don't leave none in there. I guess the bag is breathable, so.
Yeah.
Try to level it out that way when they crawl in.
One thing I never thought I'd be doing is raising worms.
Me either, but I had a worm thing one time, but the fire ants ate them all up.
Isn't that cool, just watching them? Kind of like watching fish. Fish are fun.
Yeah, I'm just trying to see how fast it takes them to bore back into it. You know, I mean, it's kind of, it's 75 degrees right now in here, so it's not too cool for them.
So we need scraps?
We're going to have something.
So we had to put chicken.
The dirt is plenty moist underneath it. I wasn't gonna put any water in it because this don't have any holes drilled in it. And
this is only temporary.
Yeah, this is just temporary till we get the worm towers in.
Yes, we should have some worm food and some worm towers any day, next 2 or 3 days. But we do have to feed them table scraps, right? Certain types of table scraps.
We gotta feed them some stuff. I mean, we can give them. There's plenty of leaves in this, and they'll eat leaves, and
they eat green leaves like
not green, dead leaves. They like the dead stuff.
Oh, well, I thought you could put, like, if I had a leaf in the GreenStalk that was needed.
Oh, you can put vegetable leaves, like lettuce and stuff like that. Yes.
Okay, that's what I was asking.
Yeah, I was thinking about tree leaves and stuff like that. Because you always find them underneath the old dead leaves in the woods and stuff. My thing is, I just want to make sure they don't start crawling out of this box.
Can't you put the lid on it with some holes in it?
Well, they just crawl through the holes, but
not if you didn't put little holes.
That's a little
worms. You got to be littler than they are.
I'm just curious as to see what.
And y'all see he's on my kitchen counter with this.
Yeah.
Look, that one was raising his head.
Well, there's some of them kind of trying to go up the sides. They keep falling back down. That's the reason I didn't fill it to the top.
That's pretty cool.
I was hoping they'd kind of like buried herself back down in there. And
Deep South worm bed. Worm farm. Ain't it called a worm farm?
Yeah, it'll be like Jim's Uncle Jim's worm farm.
Deep South worm farm.
You got to start somewhere. I mean, you know what I'm saying? We got to.
All right, guys. Y'all stay tuned. Danny and Wanda are going to be raising worms.
Yeah. We're going to see what it's like to have worms at Deep South Homestead. Deep South has worms. There we go. There we go. We got all this here now. Brown paper bags. It's been whipped up. Good morning, everybody. This is Danny from Deep South Homestead. Guys, we're sitting in our living room this morning because it's actually raining outside. Couldn't go outside to do this video. The wind and the rain was just too bad. But what we've got here is we've got the Worm Farm 360. This is something that Wanda and I purchased. We're at a situation here at Deep South Homestead where fertilize is becoming a big issue for us here. We have our high tunnels now, and I'm spending a lot of money on fertilizer for these high tunnels. And we can't use our animal manure now anymore because of grazons and all the animal manure because of the hay that we have to purchase. So it's actually toxic. So we can't use it. It was killing our plants. Y'all saw one of our previous videos about our high tunnels, how we had to go dig all the soil out of part of our high tunnel because we put our animal manure in it and it killed the plants. Did not know about grazon at that time. So we've been actively searching for a way to create our own fertilizer. And as y'all know, worm castings is the best fertilizer, and worm tea is the best fertilizer that you can get for garden plants. It has everything in it that they need. And so Wanda and I, we're trying to create the ecosystem. You saw the video we had here a while back about creating an ecosystem, and that's what we're trying to do here at Deep South Homestead. And one of the ways to creating an ecosystem is creating your own fertilizer and then being able to figure out other ways to utilize what you have here. Now, we have 2 ponds that we've installed. We've stocked them both with fish, and in order to be able to fish, we need worms. And So the thinking here is, if we want worms to fish with to be able to eat our fish, then we need to raise our worms. Now we have wild worms in the woods and crawlers and stuff like that, but why not use the worms to create your fertilize and to create your ability to have bait to fish with all in one? Is part of the ecosystem here. So we went with the Worm Factory 360 here. This is, I'm kind of amused at it because I've never actually done it this way before. I've raised worms in the past, but it's always been in just little plastic totes and stuff. And there's nothing wrong with that because I'm probably going to go back to it in the future. But we went ahead and purchased this. Now this was, I know a lot of y'all are going to say, well, that's just too expensive. Well, considering what Wanda and I spend on fertilize for our high tunnels, it's not expensive to me. Not for what I'm going to get out of it. Because once I start this process, it will be a continual process. I'll be making fertilize continually, and it's organic fertilize, and that's what we're after. We're after a good, high quality organic fertilizer. So guys, the first thing that we're going to do here, we're going to try to take this in steps. Now I'm not a professional at this by no means, but I'm just going by what is recommended. The first thing is, with this system here, the bottom part of the worm farm here has a spigot in it, and this is to collect any liquids that drain down into it here. And then it has what's called a worm ladder. Now you stick this in here, and I know that kind of surprised me at first. I'm like, why would you want a worm ladder? But sometimes worms fall through the cracks and they get in this bottom. This makes it so they can climb back up and get back up into the actual food part of the worm bin where they live at, and they don't get trapped down there where they can't get out. And this tray actually sits on top of it. Now, the system that we bought comes with 5 trays. Now you can actually add more trays if you want in the future. It takes an average of about 90 days, the best of my understanding, to be able to begin to harvest from this system. The first tray has a series of small holes in the bottom of it here. If I pick it up, you can see through it there. It's got a bunch of little tiny holes in it. That's to let the moisture escape out of it. And what they recommend is you take some newspaper and you lay it in the bottom of it. A couple of sheets thick. You lay that in the bottom of it to get started. Then this kit comes with coconut coir. It comes in a hard brick. And what they recommend is to take that brick and put it in some water, and as it swells, break off about half of it and use it, and save the other half for one of the other trays as you begin to go upwards. And that's exactly what we've done. We took a small bucket here and we dampened it. We put the coconut coir in it, and it makes a really good medium. You don't want it too wet. You don't want it where when you squeeze it, water comes out. No water comes out of this. So we have that done. So what we're going to be doing here to start with, let me get this off my hands. I'm in Ms. Wanda's house. She don't want me making a mess. We're going to take this and we're going to actually begin to lay it out on top of the paper here. Now we're going to get that spread around here kind of evenly. Worms do not like dry mixture, so I'm going to have to take my hands and scrape this out of this bucket. Let's get it all out of here so we don't make a big mess. Now, let me say this, there are actually several ways you can actually go about doing this. We actually have a 50-pound bag of sphagnum peat moss outside that we went ahead and purchased to do this with for the other trays. Now that I have the bottom, covered a little bit here, what I'm going to be doing is this kit also comes with some pumice here. Now this is to, it reduces and improves the moisture control in this basically. So it recommends on the first one that you spread about half of this in here with this. So I'm going to go around through here and I'm going to spread about half of it in this first tray. Now you can use vermiculite or perlite, either one in this. to do the same thing. Oh, there's about half of it there. We've got that. And then it recommends, we have some rock dust here, which is some minerals. It recommends to use 1 to 2 tablespoons for each tray. Now, I'm going to just guess at about 1 to 2 tablespoons. And it's a little bit dusty, so I'm going to make sure I spread it around. There we go. That's about 1 to 2 tablespoons there. We've got that in. Then it also recommends that you take 1 to 2 cups of food and you put it over in the corner of the tray. Now with this comes a magnet that we have sticking on our refrigerator in there, and that magnet on it, it tells you the best foods for worms, moderate foods to give worms, and then the absolute worst foods to give worms. So what we've got here is we've got some sweet potatoes, we've got some lettuce, stuff to this nature. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to put this over here on one side of this. I'm going to kind of like spread it out. We got a few peppers in here that, now these are sweet peppers, these are not hot peppers. They were going bad. So we got that in there. We're going to kind of mix that over to one side over here. Okay, now that I have my food on one side, I'm going to mix some some just shredded up brown paper bags that we have here over onto this other side over here. I'm going to lay that in there. Now I'm going to be really careful with this. Now this came with a little claw thing that you dig in the soil with. I don't actually have it, it's outside right now, but I'm going to take my hands and I'm going to be very careful here because we've already got some food in this. There's actually a red wiggler in the lettuce that we actually put in here. So I'm going to go ahead and start taking my time and seeing if I can be really easy with this. Because this is the worm bedding that actually came with the worms. I'm going to begin to lay it on top of that.
Our worms came like 5 days ahead.
Yeah, the worms came way ahead of time. I'm going to sprinkle it on top of it. I'm trying to be easy so I don't damage the worms in any way.
Look at the worms.
Trying to be easy so I don't damage any of them. Because the worms are there.
Oh yeah, I see them.
The worms came, we ordered them from Uncle Jim's Worm Farm. They came in excellent condition when they got here. Now let me say this, in this mixture that we're putting in here, we added several cupfuls of our own soil from our place here because it already has a lot of microbes in it and stuff like this to begin to start breaking down some of this food and stuff that's in here. I'm just taking my time, trying to spread this stuff out. Now in this mixture that I'm putting in here is also some leaves from our property that's all been kind of mixed all up in with this. Some little pieces of wood, there's all kinds of stuff in this. In this mixture is approximately 250 worms, which is about a pound of worms. There's a lot there. They've done a good job in this. They've gotten all through it really well just in a couple of days. They were really making this their nice home. I can tell you, I see baby worms all in here. I think I'm down to a point now where I can just dump it. Look at the worms. Woo! They're everywhere. Now make sure I'm not leaving none behind. Okay, guys, we've got the mixture in here. Now one of the things that you want to do is worms hate light. So you don't want to cover it immediately. You want to leave it open so that the light gets to the top of it like we have here. That way the worms will immediately begin to crawl down in the soil to escape the light. Now these are red wigglers. They live in the top couple of inches of the soil mixture that's in here. Now we put a lot of stuff in here because this is what we had mixed up originally and the worms were all down in it. I just went ahead and put it all in here. This should keep the worms fed for quite some time. We have up here, we went ahead and ordered some Castaway organic worm feed to go in here. Now you can just use cornmeal, which is a lot of what this is. This has a few vitamins and supplements added in with it to keep your worms healthy. And what I'm going to do is just take this, even though I've already put some food in here. You don't want to overfeed your worms. But I'm just going to sprinkle a little bit on top, and we're going to leave it like that. And kind of lightly just mix it in. I think that'll be just fine. You see we've got some old dry leaves, these little pieces of wood and stuff like that in here. Worms love all this stuff. You need a good bit of carbons and stuff like that mixed in with it. So, all right, you don't want too much green stuff, and you don't want to put so much stuff in here that that anything goes to start spoiling. That's one thing you want to try to maintain and make sure that you don't let happen, is stuff beginning to start spoiling. Okay guys, one thing about I like about this worm factory is the lid has a lot of instructions on it. It tells you a food list here. It tells all vegetables, table preparation scraps, peels, vegetables that are past their prime, all fruits, table scraps, peels, and cores. Avoid large amounts of citrus. You can have some starches like pancakes, pasta, rice, pizza crust, cereals, crackers, and then they can have healthy snacks like coffee grounds and their filters. Now the crushed eggshells, let me say this, they need to be ran through, they need to be dry and ran through like a blender or something, and pulverized if you're going to get any benefit from them. Tea bags without the staples. Make sure you take the metal staples off of them. You can use any kind of old dead flowers and plants and non-diseased stuff. Biggest thing about this I like is it's made in America, guys. This is not a Chinese product, okay? That's one thing I like about it. So what we're going to do is we're going to leave the top off of this now for probably around 30 or 40 minutes. And we're going to come back, and once we do that, we're going to fold up 4 or 5 sheets of newspaper, and we're going to dampen them, and we're going to place them on top of this, and we're going to then put the lid on it. And what we'll do is once we go through about I'm going to say probably, I'm going to check this probably every 5 or 6 days. I'll check it. And once I think that all the food is gone out of it, I will take another tray and I will take the newspapers that we have on top of this one. I will take those newspapers off and I will move them up out of the way, put another tray right on top of the soil that's left here, and I will begin to put more sphagnum peat moss, more vegetable scraps, more food and all that kind of stuff in this. And then I'll put the same newspapers that was on top of this back on top of the other one and put the lid back on it, and we'll continue to repeat that process for about around 90 days is what they're recommending. And then what we'll do then is we'll take this very bottom one off and lay it to the side, and we will check it to see if there's any worms in it. We'll run through it, make sure there's no worms in it, and then we will use that for our first stage of our fertilizer that we're going to be using. And then you want to periodically come here with a container and put underneath this and just check it to make sure that no moisture has built up and has run down in here. And if it does, then drain it off and reuse that, because it can be used as a tea also. And it will keep you from having any kind of smells or anything like that, or anything fermenting down in there. You can drain that off. This is eventually going to go outside. It's just that, guys, worms need a temperature between, I think it's 40 and 80 degrees to be able to grow and to do their best. And right now we just don't have that temperature outside. It's going to be cold for the next week or two here. So we're going to leave them inside during this particular time. Or I may even take them out to Mrs. Wanda's storage room in her garage, because that room stays really warm. And I might just leave them out there instead of being in the house here. I know a lot of my subscribers already do this, because y'all have already made mention that you raise worms. And I think that that is a great thing. I think it's going to be the way of the future, to be honest with you, because all the fertilizers, all the manures, it seems like everything that we do is becoming more and more poisoned and more toxic. Now, a friend of ours that has a YouTube channel, David the Good, has a book out called Compost Everything. I think it's a really good book. You can get it on Amazon. I would encourage you to do that, and it would help you to learn a little bit about the composting. And then you can take that compost and you can move it over here to the worm bin. And guys, it's a win-win situation, creating your own ecosystem, because the way of the future is going to be, if you're going to do it and not have chemicals, is going to be create your own ecosystem. And guys, if you don't want to buy a system like this, I just simply bought this because I'm kind of new at it, and I wanted just one system to kind of get a feel of how it's made, how it works. Now that I have it here, I realize that I can probably do this on my own by going to somewhere like Walmart or somewhere, or your dollar stores, and buying plastic totes and drilling holes in the bottom of them and building my own stands. There's lots of YouTube videos out there showing how to do this in a very inexpensive way, and I do recommend doing that. It's just that I wanted a system here to try out first, to kind of get my feet wet, and now that I'm seeing how that it's done, I really believe that I could build them on my own, to be honest with you. So, but if you would like one of these, there will be a link in the description down below. And I'm not going to lie about it. I may eventually go ahead and buy another one of these, because I like the way they're built. I like the tray system and the tower system and how they work. I like how you harvest from them. I like the fact that they have a spigot at the bottom. I mean, I like all these things. I like the stand. The main reason being, where we live at in the Deep South, we have such a problem with fire ants. I've tried to raise worms in the past, and they always end up getting eaten by fire ants. Ants get in there and build beds up in them. With this being up on a stand like this, I can place containers of water underneath these legs, and that will prevent the fire ants from coming up the legs and coming up in here and building beds up in here and killing my worms. So that right there was the #1 reason that I chose this one with the stand. And lots of people say that the stand will not support the weight of it once it gets to be stacked up really heavy. And if that is the case, I'll come in here and I'll put some metal over these. I'll beat these legs up if I have to. That's not a problem. I mean, I'm a contractor. I'll figure out some way to do it. Or I'll just build a metal stand. I'll do something to do this. But guys, I would encourage everybody to start raising your own worms for your own fertilizer. If you do a raised bed garden, you do container gardens or whatever, this right here is the way to go for the future. So guys, it's been a long enough time now. I don't see any more worms on here. I'm going to get my dampened newspaper, and I'm going to put it on top of it. All right, guys. After looking at this, another good use for this little spray thing here. I put the papers on top of it, and sprayed them down. Let them sit there for a minute. Do it again. All right. I think that's going to be sufficient. And we're going to take this, going to put it back on top of it. And that's it in a nutshell, guys. We'll be giving you some updates as we go along, showing you, how things are progressing. One thing you want to make sure is keep this in a dry, cool location. Do not put this out in the weather. You want to keep your food in here, I forgot to mention, at about a 50-50 ratio. You want to keep about 50% kitchen scraps, 50% carbons or fiber and stuff like that, so that the worm's diet stays pretty healthy. Avoid as much citrus products as you can, milk, meat, anything like that. You do not want to put in this. So keep all your old brown paper bags, your newspapers. Now don't put anything that's got glossy printing on it or anything like that, because that's kind of toxic to the worms and all. You don't want to keep any of that stuff, so you can throw that away, like the advertisement papers and stuff like that you get in the newspaper. But guys, this is it. Stay with us. Deep South Homestead just started making its own fertilizer. Thank you guys from Deep South Homestead.